Should an outbreak reach America's borders or begin with them, the nation's response will be determined by more than just Trump. He's nominated Secretary of Health and Human Services Tom Price. His experience in orthopedic surgery, but not infectious disease. Great. Maybe the girl from World Wrestling, maybe Vince McMahon's wife. She's handled wrestling. She could probably handle this. You know what I mean? Just hit the disease with the chair. That could work. Or the Carl's Jr. guy. You know what I mean? Just throw people who he refuses to give $15 an hour into the fray. So this is even so, the early months of a new administration are uniquely vulnerable. Consider the bioterror attacks of September 2001, when anthrax-laced letters were mailed to offices in the wake of the World Trade Center collapse. Tommy Thompson had been HH secretary for just 8 months and didn't seem to trust the career part of the government, says Lin Goldman, dean of the Milken Institute, Milken Institute School of Public Health at George Washington University. He didn't trust the experts in government to talk to the public. Public heard wrong or confusing pronouncements while postal workers couldn't get guidelines on protecting themselves. This kind of communication issue often happens during the transition. Goldman says she blames the frequent lags in appointing the middle-level deputies and assistant secretaries who connect newcomers at the top of the government with experienced health workers at the bottom. Expertise needs to flow quickly. In an outbreak, in a transition, its channels are often dammed or diverted. Even when the system works, it does so imperfectly. There's been some progress in our preparedness, but we're very far from where we need to be, especially in our ability to deal with biodefense threats, says Pardis Sabiti. She envisions a worldwide network that regularly uses genetic sequencing to test for dangerous microbes, better standards for coordinating the global response, and pipelines for quickly developing effective diagnostic tests. We need something that moves at light speed, and we don't have it. This is going to take money to set up. In February of 16, the WHO declared Zika global emergency. Obama administration requested $1.9 billion to fight the disease, but Republicans in Congress refused, arguing that the funds should just come from the pot that had been set aside for Ebola. It's big. Disease or disease. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps if you got one of these diseases. Started in Africa. Sounds dirty. Just because it's two exotic viruses doesn't mean that it's the same thing, says Goldman. And just because we've quenched the Ebola outbreak in West Africa doesn't mean that the problem has been dealt with. Politicians need to sustain funding beyond the time when they're actually in a crisis. Like I was saying, you need to have this in place. The problem is public health is much like microbes it combats. It's invisible and unglamorous. So, unlike a fire department which responds to emergencies every week, in public health we need to maintain a readiness for months and years. Will Trump do so is the question. And also, Vice President Pence. So Pence learned a hard lesson. Last year, an HIV outbreak flared up in Indiana, born on the needles of opioid addicts. Health officials recommended that the state set up exchange programs to swap contaminated needles for clean ones, but Pence refused on moral grounds. Yeah, this is again the oversimplification of the conservative brain. I'm not giving drug addicts free needles. You have a health epidemic. It is spreading a disease. Give them free needles. Plus, heroin addicts, if you know anything about addiction, they'll sit there and tell you, I don't want to do this. I don't want to shoot heroin. I don't want to smoke crack, but I can't because the body is now physically addicted to it. So, because Pence refused, his decision allowed the epidemic to balloon. Amid mounting cases and pressure, and after a night of prayer, Pence relented and the epidemic was halted. It was a case of choosing evidence over politics, says Radin. Maybe the benefits he saw in that case will influence him in policy in the future. Well, let's hope. That's the thing. Because these outbreaks do not care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. They do not care. Don't care if you're wearing hemp clothes or a Make America Great hat. Don't care. So, Another thing to pay attention to, you guys, and petition your local lawmakers to stay on top of this sort of thing. If you see some sort of defunding for these kind of things like PEPFAR or whatever, stay on top of it and voice your concern that you don't like that. All right. Also, press the like button below and hit subscribe. Thank you so much for watching The Church of Batman. My name is Graham.